Okay, so what happens on mitigation day? So our technicians are going to head out from the office or from whatever hotel they're staying at, depending on where you live, and head to your location. They're going to send you a text message up front to let you know they're on their way, so you know when to expect them. And our office will communicate the time of their arrival with you when we're booking our mitigation. Now, typically, I'm going to say typically because there are some mitigations that take longer, but a typical mitigation is a 1-day mitigation. So our team will get there in the morning, and what happens first, they're going to come down, they're going to figure out where they should park the van so they can unload easily. They're going to roll out some red carpets on the floor, and we have boot covers as well for guys to protect your flooring. And then we're going to go down and have a look around in the basement. What the mitigator is looking for, he's looking for a good place to locate our system, our pipes and our fan, but he's also looking for a good place to exhaust on the outside. We have to be very aware of your windows and door locations, where you drink your morning coffee, where your air exchanger intake is. So they're going to be looking for all of that and figuring out where the best location is to cause the less disruption in your house and to make sure that we can fix the radon for you. So once they've done that and they've looked around, they're going to come and talk to you. So it's a good idea for you to be home on the day of the mitigation. And then they're going to come talk to you and explain why they've chosen this location, where they plan to route their pipe and exhaust outside to make sure that everything works with you and your family and how you operate in your home. Now, so they won't drill any holes until you've given the okay. Now, the next part of the process is what we call pressure field extension diagnostics. So we're going to drill a 5-inch hole in the floor, which is going to be the location of our system. Our pipe will fill that hole and our fan on top of that. So they're going to drill the 5-inch hole first. And yes, this does make a little bit of noise. So if you're having any work phone calls, then we'll make sure to let you know when we're going to do that drilling. But we do take all precautions to make sure we don't create a lot of dust in the home. So we have a dust shroud that goes on that we'll put on so that we make sure that dust all stays down and it's not spreading out through the house. And we do use a high-end drill for this, a core drill, so that we're able to drill through and not take a lot of time making the noise. Now, once we have that 5-inch hole drilled, we're going to excavate. So if you look at the guys, they have some scraped up arms. They're going to excavate some, whatever the material is, the substrate under the floor, and we're going to remove that in buckets. And that's where we start finding out our unknowns, the unknowns that Paul would talk to you about. Now, just to recap, the unknowns, there's typically 3 unknowns that we run into in radon mitigation. And the first one, like I said, is the substrate underneath. So sometimes we'll see hard packed sand and dirt, which is really hard to get air moving through. Or we really like to see gravel. When we see gravel underneath, we know that we can move the air more easily. So the substrate under the floor is one of those unknowns that we really don't know how it's going to react to us sucking on the fan. In a perfect world, we want to be able to suck nice and easy, not a lot of suction, and vent it outside from one location, and then we know that we can beat the radon. The way that we know if our fan is doing the job we want, this pressure field extension, we have to make some small 1/4-inch holes in the floor to install our test pipe tube so that we know if the air is flowing under the floor. So again, we're not going to cut any holes in your floor until we've explained to you where we're going to put them and what size hole it is and get your permission first. But in theory, if the guys are installing the system in one corner of the house, then we're going to want to put 1/4-inch holes in the opposite 3 corners of the home, the furthest away from the system, so that we know that we're affecting change in the air pressure underneath the floor. Like we've told you, that radon is built up underneath your floor. So for us to make sure we're going to guarantee the levels, we need to get airflow moving underneath the whole floor. And when we do that, that's when we know with thumbs up, we can put our system in and we determine what size the fan needs to be to fix your home. Like I said earlier, our fans are Fantech EC controlled fans, which those fans allow us to dial them up and dial them down. Now that's an internal dial that is not accessible to the homeowner, but if we ever do have to make any adjustments down the road, we can. So that means that we can carry a smaller number of fans on our van, in our van, and we can always dial those fans up or down to make sure that we hit the right amount of suction for the soil underneath your home. Now, that's just one of the unknowns. So the second unknown is the cold joint. So the cold joint is where your basement concrete floor meets your concrete wall. So that 90-degree angle, which is typically behind one of your finished walls, is what we call the cold joint. Now, at certain times of construction in the past, that joint was left open for water management. So if any water came in the basement, it would go in these cracks and go around. But that's a very good highway for radon to come in. And when we're sucking underneath the floor, trying to get suction all the way across your floor, that's going to limit the amount of suction we can carry across the floor because we're going to be sucking all around the perimeter of the house. So depending on how leaky, air leaky, not water leaky, but how leaky your cold joint is, that will determine how much additional work that we're going to have to do to seal that up, to make sure that our suction stays below the floor and that we minimize any energy penalty or chances of backdrafting in your home. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to seal whatever parts of the cold joint that are accessible and visible to us on the day of mitigation. However, sometimes we can't seal all of the walls because they're behind your beautifully finished basement family room. And in those cases, we'll advise you on what the best next steps are. And that may be to tell you that if you decided to seal that cold joint or paid us to do it, but really we're not trying to get the extra work, that we'll come back and we can adjust the fan down lower once those are sealed up, because now we're really controlling where that airflow goes. Now, so those are two of the unknowns that we've talked about. The third unknown is one that sometimes is known if you have a sump pit, and that is the water table level under the floor. So if your water table, which if you don't have a sump pit, you may not know where the water naturally sits under your floor, but if the water table is right below your concrete floor, then it may require putting in a sump pit and a pump to lower the water level down below the slab so that we can get that airflow above the water and below your concrete floor. Now, those are the three unknowns, and our guys are going to determine those when they're doing pressure field extension diagnostics. So once they've done the pressure field extension diagnostics, they're going to ask you to come down if you're home. They'll show you what they've done. They'll explain what this means and how the air pressures work and why we may need to do additional work to make sure that your radon levels stay nice and low. Now, it's always your choice as the customer on how we proceed from there, but the guys are going to give you options and explain it really clear, make sure that you understand everything in the process. Now, once we've determined our course of action and hopefully we have none of those unknowns, then the guys are going to continue. They're going to install the pipes, the fan, they're going to exhaust outside, and they're going to make sure that they're not blowing radon where you're going to drink your morning coffee, or where your air exchanger brings it back in, or near your kids' bedroom windows. So we're going to make sure of all that and have that exhausted. And then with Radon Repair, what we're going to do, we're going to install a remote digital monitor. So then we're able to remotely monitor your radon levels for the next 12 months. And we are going to guarantee that we're going to get your radon levels below 100 becquerels per meter cubed, and we're going to back it up with a monitoring system so that if the levels go higher than 100, we're going to show up and take care of whatever we need to take care of. So after this, you don't need to think about radon anymore. We have it covered, and we're watching it for the next 12 months. If you appreciate that monitoring service where you're going to receive a report every month, then at the end of the 12 months, you can certainly extend that monitoring service. And if you extend that service, we're going to extend our guarantee and our warranties for up to 5 years. Now, if you want total peace of mind, ask us about our manage plan, which gets us back in your house every 12 months to recock things, to change out your muffler, to clean out your fan, to make sure the system's operating as it was on the day of mitigation. And we also clean your air exchanger when we're there. So I hope that answers a lot of questions up front. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any one of our staff at the office. And thank you so much again for your trust in Radon Repair. Have an awesome day.